Hi everybody, and welcome to Self-Help FAQ, the YouTube channel. I'm Barb, your host. In today's Follow-Up Friday, I'm going to be following up on something I mentioned in my last video on protecting your identity, and it's a big trending topic online. It's about authenticity, about creators specifically, whether they're being authentic when they are sharing things or how they are feeling, or is it something else? Is something else going on? Well, I want to get into it. So let's start that now. So some people, when they hear the word authentic, they think it means just let everything spill out, all your emotions, whatever you're feeling, spill it out online. It doesn't matter. But I want to slow that down a bit because I think that belief causes a lot of confusion, regret, and overexposure. So let's start with the actual definition of authenticity. It means basically what you are on the inside is what you're showing to the outside. Can be your emotional truth. If you're sad, you say you're sad, and that's real. If you're hurt, you admit you're hurt, and that's real. Emotion itself isn't fake. Where things start to get tangled is in how we share, what we share, and with whom. Now, I've been watching a lot of creators on YouTube lately, and I see some trends where people are showing their anger. They're showing their desire to have revenge. And many are crying because of what they're feeling inside. And I want to be very clear about something. Crying, even crying online, can be authentic. Being emotional in the moment is not being performative or dishonest, but authenticity and emotional processing are not the same thing. Something can be real, but still need an appropriate container. One of the most helpful ways I've heard authenticity explained is this. Authenticity doesn't mean acting the same in every setting. We already instinctively know this. It means being clear on how you show up or how you choose to show up in each setting, and being aligned with yourself in all of them. For instance, we don't talk to our boss the same way we would talk to a close friend, unless your boss is the close friend. We probably don't talk to our family the way we would talk to our partner, our close partner. And that doesn't make us fake, that makes us context aware. So acting differently in each setting is not a lack of authenticity. Did you know it's actually you listening to one of your values, and that value is discernment? And having discernment matters a lot when we consider whether we're talking to our personal friends or to our viewers. They aren't the same thing. You might have some of your personal friends in the audience, but for the most part, most of your viewers are not your close personal friends. And you have to think about this. These are two totally different environments. With close friends, there's a relationship. They know your history. They can check in with you later. They can ask you if there's anything that you need. They can help hold the emotional moment. But with viewers, even the supportive ones, that holding isn't there. It's mostly one-way exposure. They're witnessing, they're not sharing responsibility. That means your nervous system may be exposed, but not actually supported. So this is usually when oversharing happens. Not because someone wants attention, not because they're fake, but because they're processing something real in a space that wasn't designed to contain it. Think of it this way. If you're letting your emotions out and oversharing some details on something that is bothering you, viewers feel pressured to respond, the social lines blur, trust can erode, and the creator's identity weakens. And that's often when people feel unsettled afterward, even if the audience was kind. So you need to pay attention to how you feel after the sharing was done of whatever situation it was. That's like your intuition. What are you feeling afterward? What's it telling you? I think if you're not feeling too good about it, then that means you're not listening to your value of discernment. It's telling you that what you did doesn't sit right with you, and you need to listen to that. So let me give you one example of how you might pick up the pieces after this has happened, or how you might portray something a little bit differently when you listen to your value of discernment. Let's just say that you have been feeling burned out lately because you're spreading yourself too thin online. And so you might go online and you're in the middle of feeling burnt out and you're feeling depleted, and you start crying because everything you're trying to make it online isn't working. So you let this out. You start crying and saying to people, I've tried these different things, nothing's working, I don't understand, people are just, they don't care, they're just criticizing me, and nothing I ever do is right, and it goes on and on. And so it feels good in the moment because you're feeling the overwhelm, and you're feeling just so confused and tired. And so you let it out, and yes, that's authentic. You're authentically feeling this way. But then after you're done with your live, you say to yourself, oh, I feel like an idiot for crying online, and I just, oh, this was bad. And so then you have to take some time, instead of sharing more about that, take some time to listen to your value of discernment. And then you get back online and you can say something instead like, I've been feeling something lately about my YouTube channel, and I've been working it out offline, and you're going to be seeing some changes. I might not talk about what's going on behind the scene, but you're going to be seeing some changes, and this is just me explaining what's going on behind the scenes. Now this helps you feel a little more comfortable about sharing without oversharing or getting too emotional. That's just a small example of how you can change things around and word them a little differently so that you're not oversharing or getting, over emotional about that. But it does take time. You do have to let time pass if you're going through something, and to try to do your own processing for a while so that you can become calmer. If that's what you want to do. Otherwise, if being emotional online helps you, then that's what you will do. And so I want to go on to another problem with oversharing online, something that could happen. So there's a practical layer to this that some people don't realize, or maybe they don't think that it will happen. Especially if you're sharing about partners or past relationships, family members, whoever it might be, a coworker. And that is the legality of what you might be saying. So most of the people that we end up talking about online, if we're not happy with something that they've done, could be partners, ex-partners, friends, coworkers. And these people are private individuals. They are not politicians or, anyone out in the public eye like actors or actresses. Think Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, that sort of situation. And so private individuals have a lot more protections than a public individual, and you have to think about that. And these private individuals didn't consent to storytelling. And when I say storytelling, I just mean what happened. I don't mean it's fake or anything, but just what happened that is causing the emotions to bubble up. So even if something feels emotionally true, or you have proof that it's true, Public statements can have serious consequences, legal, ethical, and social. Now, regarding past relationships, you might be saying, it's my platform, I can say whatever I want. But that's legally incomplete, as I've stated before. And here are some of the risks you may be taking if you decide to talk about whether it's a past partner or a friend or a family member. First of all, there is the problem of defamation, even if what you say is true. So defamation is when you make a statement about someone that harms their reputation and cannot be proven as fact in a legal sense. So remember that truth matters, but proof is where the defense would be. If you have emotional interpretations such as, this person was abusive or they manipulated me, these can be legally risky if stated as fact. Even if you make the person in question anonymous, they can sometimes be identified among friends in common or among their circle or your circle. And whatever you say online is forever unless you take it down, but then somebody may have screen captured it. You can be sued for harassment if you repeatedly discuss a person, make the same claims against this person, and do it with emotional intensity. And once you start discussing that, if the audience jumps in and feels encouraged to keep talking about it, that's what can be deemed an escalation of the harassment. So even if you don't name someone, sharing personal details like private communications and sexual or financial details can be argued as invasion of privacy, especially if said person never consented to such disclosure. Even if you say, well, it's in the past, that doesn't protect you because past events can still be litigated. Old relationships can still resurface. People change their tolerance over time for such discussions. And someone who didn't care what you were saying before might just start caring about it and bring it to court. Remember, online platforms amplify reach. So more audience than you even know. Another thing you might not realize is that your videos can be picked up on commentary channels and shared that way. Viewers can contact the person involved, start a big fight that way. Okay, so let's ground all of this, tie it all in together with authenticity. Some things to remember. Authenticity does not require naming names, giving receipts, proving wrongdoing, retelling trauma in detail. But authenticity can be honest without being exhaustive, clear without being accusatory, and real without being legally vulnerable. So authenticity without clarity can cost you emotionally, socially, and sometimes legally. So if you want to be authentic and use your value of discernment online as a creator, and you are talking about a hurtful event or situation or something from the past, you can use terms like, I felt betrayed. I realized my trust was broken. That relationship didn't feel safe for me. I learned something important about my boundaries. None of that requires proving that the other person was wrong or convincing the audience that you're justified or exposing private communications or turning your pain into evidence. Your experience is real, even if no one ever sees the proof. And before, when I mentioned about authenticity doesn't require giving receipts, that means like texts or emails or other such things that could be considered evidence. When someone does this, gives receipts, it's often because they don't feel believed yet, They're still seeking validation. They're still in a defensive or wounded stage, and I think that's the most common reason right there. They're trying to control the narrative. This doesn't make them bad, it just means that something internally hasn't been settled yet. So that's a processing stage, not an authenticity failure. So the key distinction here is authenticity is telling your truth, but receipts, or things that you've collected to prove wrongdoing, is just that, just proving someone else's wrongdoing. And those are different goals. Authenticity says, this is how it affected me. Receipts say, this is why I'm right and they're wrong. Do you see the difference? So if I just want to explain this simply, I could say, being authentic doesn't mean I have to prove what happened. I can talk about what I learned without turning it into evidence. So when we're talking about authenticity, what we're really talking about is alignment. Authenticity is emotional truth. But once you process an event that happened to you, you gain clarity. And clarity helps you decide where and how to express your truth. Context protects your identity, and boundaries around your values will keep you grounded. So clarity doesn't make you authentic. It helps you express what's already real without harming yourself or anyone else. Now, at the end of the day, which is funny because it's the end of the day and I've lost my lighting for my video. But anyway, at the end of the day, it really is up to you. There's no rule that says you must share, and no rule that says you can't. You get to decide whether or not to discuss painful or traumatic experiences publicly, privately, or not at all. What matters is if you pause long enough to think about a few things, such as how will this affect me once the moment passes? And how will it affect the people listening? And how might it affect the other person involved, especially if they never chose a public role? Doing that kind of reflection doesn't make you guarded. It builds discernment, and discernment is a value. And when it comes to sharing on the spot, especially in live settings, it helps to notice which topics tend to pull you into emotional rabbit holes. Is it certain stories, certain relationships, certain questions, certain triggers? You don't have to eliminate those topics, but you can decide ahead of time whether to continue to open those doors, or whether some things deserve a different container, someone else to tell your story to. That choice is yours. And choosing with awareness instead of letting the cards fall where they may is often the difference between feeling authentic in the moment and feeling grounded afterward. That's not self-censorship, that's self-respect. So now, after this discussion, I have a journal question for you. And the question is, what parts of your life are for processing, and what parts are for sharing? And how do you want to show up in different spaces, not out of fear, but out of self-respect? That kind of discernment doesn't make you feel less real. It makes you steady. Okay, everybody, thank you for tuning in, spending some time with me here on a very important topic. And stay tuned for February's next 4 videos, where the theme's going to be, I'm going to check my notes here, the theme is going to be emotional and cognitive self-defense, where I'll be talking about things like emotional regulation and why you feel drained after certain people and what's really happening, recognizing red flags, and mental overload, things like that. So I hope you're interested, and we'll come back starting in February. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Have a great day, and bye for now.